think this year is the year that I start writing down.
Look at this.
I say that, and it's 6 months into the year.
Start writing down things.
Yeah, like I need to start writing down like funny stuff I say, because I'll be like, oh, that was real funny. I should remember that, and you can't. Cause
I do that nonstop.
Yeah, I don't do that.
I keep so many notes in my phone. But you know what you should keep in your phone?
What?
A subscription to our YouTube.
Yeah, I agree.
And we got Dave Hermes on here today.
That's right.
I would say for standing in for John, but Dave stands on his own.
That's right.
Not standing in for John. I don't know if John will be in. He might, come in mid-episode. Maybe.
That's right.
Not.
We don't need him. They actually fired him. And Rambo is the new, co-CEO of this company, and as well as myself. Yeah. So, John, if you're listening, you just got fired. We are accepting applications, so that said, John, if you'd like to submit one for future employment, it will, you'll get a bump in line. I'll talk to somebody about that. Get HR on that.
So, John is actually fortifying himself in the company. I think he's painting cabinets or helping.
At his house? Or
no, at the shop.
Oh,
We're so behind on. Well, I mean, it's not even really behind. It's just so much to do, not enough people, or things fall through, or people are inconsistent, and you make plans and they don't work, and next thing you know, the person who is partially responsible for the whole show is down on the lower levels,
doing the work
in the trenches. So
I think sometimes you gotta do that.
There's just something
right
to say
now,
about that.
because demand, you're like you said earlier, like demand is so high right now. There's even if you're a crappy contractor, you have a job.
Yeah, that's so true. Unfortunately, that's true. We try and build in the upper end of things, but we get customers of all walks or incomes or values and things like that. Not so much anymore. But you still, even at the higher end, you get people that are like, well, we want it done like right now. Like I'm trying to think. We had someone of means want a deck. They wanted a deck, and I saw it on Instagram. Like, we're looking for so and so, blah blah blah. And I messaged them. I'm like, well, when are you trying to do this? And this was a few months ago, maybe 2 months ago. They put up this post, and they were like, oh, by May. And I was like, who are you gonna hire to design and build a deck to go in a home like yours and have it finished by May? And if you do hire someone, watch out.
What do you call it, like February?
No, I think it was like April.
Oh, yeah, that's a short
maybe
turnaround.
March, beginning of March. But so you got to watch out for people that are, if somebody is willing to, if it's Friday and they can start on Monday on your big kitchen renovation.
Yeah,
probably a red flag. I would watch out for that.
That's the one thing though too, is like I know how to do a little bit of stuff, but it's like I need to actively start paying attention to more things. Like I was over at my girlfriend's house, and her parents, they have like a fan light out in their bathroom, and I'm like, I've done that before. I could fix that. Like I'm pretty confident that I could do something like that. But then it's like other things, they're like, well, there's also like siding problems, and I'm like, I don't even know the first thing about doing siding. But I mean, I met guys just being in, doing a couple of home renovations when working with contractors. Like there's some dudes out there, and typically it's like carpenters. If you're a carpenter, like those guys know how to do usually most things well enough, because like their whole job is to be like pretty precise.
Yeah, that's I definitely think there's the jack of all trades you kind of have to watch out for, but I do think you do need to know a lot about a lot, even though I might not be the best, electrician in the world or plumber in the world or trim contractor in the world, but I know enough that I can demand that higher quality from people that know more than me.
Yeah.
That's realistically like that's our role, like our Jonathan and I's role, or our company's role, is kind of just we are experts enough that we can make the experts like kind of push it a little bit more.
Well, your background is in this stuff too, so I feel like eventually there might be a point where you're gonna have to get.
Oh yeah, for sure. But like that's,
more.
I mean, that's what it is with John. Like being in the paint shop, it needed to get done. He was just like, I got steady hands. I'll probably do it.
How do you?
And I was like, dude, I'll be completely honest with you. Like I definitely pushed back on it hard. I was just kind of like, I don't know, man. Like, do you really want to take like what I consider the most, like, there's building cabinets and there's cabinetry, and then there's finishing cabinets, which is a whole nother skill set. If you think you're just going to open a cabinet shop and be able to paint cabinets, you're fucking stupid, like us.
Well, I mean,
right?
Like us.
Well, our plan was to rely on a few different finishers, and some of them worked out, some of them didn't work out, some of them worked out for a little while. Ultimately, we didn't really have our own finisher. Somebody within our company was always having to come out from the field to hop into the shop to finish the cabinets, and it was just a headache. So I mean, still is a headache.
But this is the arm of your company that wants to build and finish their own cabinetry, right?
Yeah, but that's only for like we have enough of our own projects that shop stays busy on its own.
Oh yeah.
Like we don't need to.
I need to get into the teeth of this company. I was always thinking, I was like, it'd be like neat to like just take. No, I don't know if I'd take off work and go hang out for a day, but I almost kind of want to do it and just be like, what does it look like over here?
Yeah,
dude, all my work is done on a computer, and like with my problem right now is like kind of similar to your problem. It's like we have a couple people on our team, on my immediate team, that we're like responsible for all these, like we work off like a ticketing system, so we get requests from like the lines of business within the company to basically say, oh, we need like reporting, we need analytics done, we need, we have data coming from different places, so our job is to go out, figure out where all the data is coming from, get like all that coming in an orderly way, like whether we like schedule stuff to come in, so it's like something drops at 8 a.m., we can run these reports and have them back out to the business so they know what they're working on. So the company I work for directly is like our complaints department, right? So like all of the complaints that come in on like all the mortgages we hold, there's people that basically are actively like settling and figuring out these complaints. So they need like real-time data, so like where are we in our queue?
How are the complaints panning out?
Yeah,
are we settling more complaints that are coming in?
All that nonsense.
Losing money.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, are we affecting our buyers? But like when I have two other people that are like, they're decent enough, but they don't have the skill set to like do, build databases and write SQL queries and all the little skills you need to do that. But it's like everywhere I look, it's like that's a super important part. Like to get like that's what you're kind of running into right now with this like bottleneck effect of like you have enough guys, but you don't have enough guys. You can never have enough guys, really.
We ultimately always want to not have enough guys. Like the philosophies always change, and I've scaled up and down in business a few times, not successfully and successfully, more times not successfully, to know that and this is something I call subcontractors out for all the time, especially new ones, not necessarily new to us. I'm like, look, if I start seeing you hiring people like very quickly or constantly needing, more people, or you start out working on our jobs and the next thing you know, every time I come here, there's like a new face doing what you're supposed to be doing, like I'm going to be pissed. Because what ends up happening is these guys, it's happened a few times where, they'll start working with us, everything will be good. They'll either be new in business and then like they'll pick up momentum in their own business, or they'll be in business and like maybe pick up some momentum because people see them in our Instagram stories or on social media. And then next thing you know, they're like incredibly difficult to get a hold of, and you can't get your job finished on time because they're running around chasing all the other jobs they've started, and they don't have enough guys to get anything done.
That's like the nature.
And they need, he's like, oh, and then they'll say like, oh, we're just behind. I just need to find 2 more guys. It's like, no, motherfucker, you need to learn how to say no. And remember that, like, if you have 5 really good customers, taking on customers 6, 7, 8, and 9 is only going to fuck 1 through 5, and then you're just not going to have anything.
Yeah, I guess that comes down to an issue of, like...
I've done it where I've just, like, I thought, like, just saying yes, and, like, I could just hire people, or I could just get more people. And, like, the problem is, like, once I got those people, you know, I had to tell them what to do. And then I had to figure out what they needed to do. Like, I just didn't hire them, and they just, like, figured out what they do. The only person that relatively has ever been hired that kind of just, like, figured out what to do was Gilmore.
What's up?
It's
trying.
And that's because he just showed up. He's like, yeah, I can do all this stuff for you guys. And then he was just like, yeah, I'm going to just, I'm just going to start showing up here full time. And you guys are just going to pay me. And I'm like, and we were like, yeah, that sounds good.
It's no happening at all.
You guys you're going to need me to start showing up full time next Monday. And I'm just like, yeah,
unless you grow up in a household where you're, where you're learning how to do these kind of things, like as far as working on houses.
Yeah.
Like there's no, like most males and females. I mean, I would say it's a male dominated field.
Yeah,
but they don't have like,
if you're not an argument.
If you're a greenhorn and you're fresh to the industry, you probably have probably little skillage, I would imagine.
Yeah, it's weird.
Unless you went to some, I don't know.
We have a young guy now, Jason, who's in college for building. I don't know if it's for like the tech or like for the hands-on side of it, or if it's more for like the construction management side of it.
Yeah, it's probably construction management.
If it's for construction, like we all the time, I hope his parents listen to this, because every time we get a chance to, like Ryan or me, or I don't think John's interacted with him too much. A couple of like the higher managers will like be like, "What you don't need to go back to school, buddy." Be like, "What are you doing? Why are you gonna go back to school? We need you out here."
Yeah,
and the truth of the matter is, he's a good guy. He's a really good worker, real honest. Like he has what it takes to be successful in this. That I could very much make an argument that if he didn't go back to school and we started him, like, hey, look, like if you're not going to go back to school, like I'm going to take care of you if you listen to me. And like, and I've said that to so many people where I'm like, hey, if you listen to me for like 5 years.
Right.
It'll change your life.
Right.
And that's not me being cocky. That's just me knowing what I've put into this and observing other people and what they've put into their businesses and the lessons they've given me. Then I'm like, hey, if I can give you lessons for 5 years, I know I can change your life. And it's pure. That's like comes from like I've said that to people and they're like, that's real arrogant. And I'm like, no, like I know in my heart that's like we have a recipe for success.
To educate them in like what you know how to do.
Yeah.
I think like to hybrid that with, like, I mean, you have field training. You know how, like, you could walk into a house and do, right. Like, you can go do carpentry. Mm-hmm. You know what's crazy, too? It's like those kind of jobs is like there's no automation for doing trim work. It's incredibly laborious. If you're not calculated with your steps, you can add a ton of time. Like, and that stuff takes so, like, when I did that, my house flip by myself, you're looking at it and you get like this, like, I knew how long it took, but then you get these, like, oh, yeah, I can take care of that. I can take care of that. I can get some guys on that. I can get some guys on that while I'm doing stuff like that. But until you're in the middle of it, when you're, like, by yourself in the house, and you're like, well, no one's here. I guess I'm going to work on, like, insulation or something. Like, because that's all I can do and, like, run some, you know what I mean? It's like I guess it's what is that saying? It's the best laid plans of mice and men. Right? It's like what you think you can. I don't even know if I'm using that term correctly because I've never read that book.
I would say that's more of like in like the construction field or any sort of process management or project management position. If you overpromise and underdeliver, you're constantly gonna feel like on the wrong side of things. And I've worked with people and I've had partners and subcontractors and different people that were like that, and I would constantly be like frustrated by them. And then it took me a year, like probably 5 years into like being in business for myself, that I realized that like these people weren't trying to fuck me, right? They didn't mean anything by it. There was nothing more than them. Like, they honestly thought like, I'll be able to achieve this goal in this amount of time. And then when you pull them back from it and you're like, dude, you never were going to fucking be able to do that amount of work in that amount of time.
Yeah.
You were lying to yourself. And then those people start to realize it, and they start like, you know, I had one buddy who he would laugh about it. He would just be like, he would throw time up and I'd be like, how long do you think it's going to take? And he would say it, and I'd be like, dude, I'm just going to stop asking you because I'm just going to take your number and I'm just going to double it. And that's probably what it realistically is. Because it would happen with tile guys, like mutual tile guys, where it's just like you don't slow down to like take in each task, or you think like there's like this timer. It's like the self-invited.
What I get frustrated with, the same thing. It's like when you have it, like everybody loves to like ask for that ETA right at the beginning, and you know, like in your mind, it's like, all right, 5 weeks, but like you need communication within that 5 weeks to be like, where are we at right now?
Oh, super critical.
Like I don't care, because I feel like most people say the 5 weeks and they hold them to it. So like you almost have to get in the psychology of people, be like, hey, like I know we said 5 weeks, but like that's just because we were saying things. But like during that 5 weeks, I need to have you actively communicate with like where you are, what you need, if there's anything I can do, because the goal here is not the 5 weeks. The goal here is like just to get it done within 5 weeks, maybe a couple weeks of like
but
lag.
That's because there's other people's schedules
but they're overcommitted
attached to that 5 weeks. So you need to know that guy's finishing in 5 weeks,
right,
so that like your painters can come in behind them.
Right. But
and then their schedule is depending upon you communicating accurately during those 5 weeks. Be like, hey, we're still good for 5 weeks out.
Right.
4 weeks away. Hey, we're still good for 4 weeks away.
That's when you can like.
And then like something happens, you're like, hey, find something to do for 4 or 5 days. But if we get 5 weeks out and you're like, I fucked up, I need to. You got to adjust it then.
Right. I mean,
and that's what pisses me off is I have time. Because like we have a lot of projects, we have a lot of people, we have a lot of subs, we have all these things, like things that we want.
So many things going on.
And
it'd be crazy
when you move one thing, everything else moves. It's like this huge weird clock thing, and I try to explain it to people. So when you fucking move my shit, like if you get in the way of something, I get fucking livid, and like I try not to take it personally. And what I do is I'll try and like educate whomever I'm frustrated with, because like they probably don't see what I'm upset about, and I try and do that because it's like therapy, where I'm like, hey, look, like I'm frustrated right now because like you might not see this, but if we don't finish this house, no later than next Thursday, it's going to affect the closing date, which affects the mortgage, which affects the bank, which affects all those documents, which then, we have to inspect. Like, there's so much. And, like, it's like, but if we can get all this little things done right in order and they all fall into piece, it's like no big deal.
Right.
But, like, my biggest thing is yes men. It happens to me where I'll see a problem starting to happen, and I'll be like, hey, like, I see this problem with said trade, and I'll be like, hey, subcontractor B, I'll be like, hey, get ready, I might need help on this project, and I'll go to subcontractor A that's in play, and I'll be like, hey, this isn't personal, but like I feel like there's something, like you're either delayed over on this other project, you're distracted on somebody else's project, like something else is going on, you have personal things like whatever it is, like I don't care, I kind of care, but I don't. Like, ultimately, the success of, like, this overarching thing is more important for everybody else involved. So, like, if I have to make a change and pull you off and, like, get someone to help you finish this, let me know now. Right?
Yeah, it's
because if we get 3 weeks away when it's critical for you to finish and you're nowhere fucking around, I'm not going to be able to find that guy to help. And then I'm going to be fucked. And then you're going to wonder why I'm mad. And then you're going to be like, hey, dude, what's the future look like for our relationship? And I'll be like, if you have to fucking ask me that, you know the answer.
That's like I don't know I think it's pretty consistent in all like walks of business, but you do have people that they won't communicate actively.
It's like they hide
a little bit, and they like, it's just like it's almost like a human tendency to kind of to not communicate like that, but you really, really need that. And if you can like master that, here's the other thing too, is like, imagine if you have somebody that's really good at that, and that relationship starts to wane a little bit. You're like constantly managing relationships. You're constantly managing projects. The two of those, it's like when you look at a timeline, you're looking at it at like almost like a project management like software where it's like this goes and here's the lag time.
Yeah,
These
like
are connected.
on a Gantt chart. If you're
Yeah,
if you're
Gantt chart,
listening and
which
you
is,
don't know what a Gantt chart, GA
to
and
minimize
two
like
T's.
what is it? The whole idea of that is to minimize what do they call
It's
it? Lag
like time. Yeah, like time collapsing. Like you
Yeah.
see where there's
Like
inconsistencies.
what processes depend on other processes? Can these processes run independently from other processes, and then they all kind of converge at that?
I'm obsessed with these things. Our software runs on this stuff.
Yeah, they're useful, but like that is not the nature of people. That's the nature of like science and things that work and can be calculated and controlled. And right now what you're working through is like your economies of scale. You have a lot of talented people. You have a lot of good contacts, and you're doing all these wonderful things. But like when you talk about economies of scale, you don't have total control of everything that goes on. Until you have total control of everything that goes on, you can't. That's kind of that's the model, but that's very hard to attain. So it's like your job is the constant struggle to take what you have and attain that.
Yeah, I think that if you like went back to that conversation and that person was honest about like, hey, like I'm worried I'm not going to make the deadline for you guys.
Yeah.
I like that level of honesty, although you think like you're failing me at that point
You're helping
in time,
you out because you know now.
but like you're giving me time to adapt to a problem instead of completely fucking you.
You know the
I
knowledge.
I will forever appreciate that person in a way. There's people that do that.
So it's your job now.
Yeah.
And you know that as, a project manager, you're a pretty approachable guy. So like as you're in the field now, it's like that's one of your MOs right now to add to your like board of shit I need to like master is being able to like, look, I need you to know that you need to have 100% communication with me, and if things look like they're not going to hit the deadline, just tell me. Just tell me. Like put that ease, like make them like feel. I don't know.
Even if you do that, though, they might
you
not.
want to drive like production, and you don't want to like be too weak off the bat. Because I've seen this even with my work. Like I'll go to people like, hey, can you do this? Like some people are just good with it. Some people can just do it. But some people, like you got to keep them motivated.
It's hard to keep the ball when you're like too nice. It's kind of they kind of just take advantage
That's
of.
That's why they're going to replace us with robots.
Yeah, dude.
Robots.
Bring on the robots, bro.
I was talking to a guy this week who lives down the street, and he's done pretty well for himself. He had a pretty successful landscaping business, and he's got a real big house. Nice. I think he's got a couple little boats. He's got cars and shit. He's like a materials guy, but he's always into stocks and like taking flyers on things. And he was telling me about. He's like, yeah, you should check out like AITX or something. It's like this company. I have to look it up, but it's like they're using robotics to replace security, like security guards and stuff like that. It's like SAITX or AITX, but it's like a couple cents a share. That might be it. But yeah, robotic. Wow, look at that. I didn't even know what it was, and he found it. That would take me like 4 Google searches. But he was like, yeah, you should check this out. I'm not going to take a flyer, but it's just something to keep an eye on because it's just, right, you talk about like disruptive technologies, and your particular business is like where disruptive technologies do not have a really clear path yet. You can't automate the installation of a tile shower. You can't automate,
I think it's coming. Because if you could build a whole house in a
Rambo,
warehouse.
give me another beer.
If you could build a whole house in a warehouse, you could automate our jobs.
Yeah, well, like a modular home.
And then the crane, you drive it out to site, and the cranes put it together.
But even developing the technology, I mean, we've done that to a point, right? Like we've developed like trusses and all the prefab stuff that they can roll out and throw up. But like you still need those finishing guys, those guys to secure. Like I would just say like in my line of business, like I could be fired like yesterday if my company wanted to spend a few $100,000 on, system innovation and stuff like that. I don't think it would cost them much money to replace me.
Well, how come you what is it about your job that your company needs as opposed to just do they need to know this information to help people, or is it more so like they're trying to make the assessment around helping people?
The assessment and the analytics helps each line of business like pretty a lot. Like
Pretty
if you
lot.
can, like
Big
if you can give
mucho.
somebody the data before, because they basically have to get into that. There's so
they
much
see
going
where problems are happening so that they can prevent problems.
I think but the problem is the sheer numbers of what's actually going on, and we have so many loans under our care. We have like 3 million loans, but when you really start to deal with things in 3 million, it's a lot of instances, and you need like a lot of people to take care of like the fact that you own like or you oversee 3 million loans. So what the company does is like a mortgage subservicer. So anything goes along with mortgage, like customer service and in accounting and investor reporting, when they start to like package these things as securities, like that's a big overarching and the fact that in the mortgage market, like these things are constantly bought and sold, so they're constantly switching hands. So like we have to keep up with that. We have to keep up with the fact that like taxes have been paid or not paid. Like there's so much that goes into like that's the crazy thing about the mortgage industry and the housing industry. It's so complicated and almost unnecessarily so.
Just give me the money, right?
Well, think about like your local municipalities. They all have like different rules of when they want to get paid their taxes. They have different rules of how much your taxes go to schools at certain times of the year. It's so like nothing is consistent. Like you could live in Colorado and live in Pennsylvania and in a certain subset of Pennsylvania and be paying your school taxes in February or be paying your school tax in August. But if you use a subservicer company, they need to keep track of when your shit's due, because if not, they pay the tax penalties for that local municipality if they're late. So there's all these crazy, but it's like, you're a big
so
blockchain
wasteful.
guy,
Yeah.
right? Right? So it does seem wasteful. It seems wasteful and like the architecture of a bunch of problematic human beings. Like, why not just make a formal system of like, this is when people get paid, like this is when money hits accounts, but like beyond that,
Dude, China did that back in the day.
Dude,
I don't know what dynasty. I'm gonna throw a dynasty. I'm not gonna throw a dynasty. One of the dynasties, they invented all the like building orders. It's like 8 building orders or something, where all the buildings in the whole country at that time were all building.
That sounds like the Chinese would do something
Like
that.
they were all building like, I don't even know.
They were like in unison. There was a plan.
Each column, every column was the same size.
Right.
Every pillar, no matter where you went,
Right.
everything was all
There was
done
a standardized.
the same.
So it makes sense.
But at that same time, they didn't also do that with just building.
I wonder.
They did that with like everything in the country at that time that could be like automated was.
I wonder, and this might sound like weird off the bat, but like bear with me, roll with me. Like look at a company. Everybody always loves to like say, "Oh well, universal healthcare works in Scandinavian countries." I'm like,
it's a small ass fucking country.
It's a small country, and they're pretty uniform, right? The Chinese, like they have complete control over their people, and they're all Chinese, right? It's like in America, we have so many people, so many combating interests. So it's like I feel like our biggest job right now is to figure out how really to work together. And I feel like it's the basics of what this conversation is. It's like you have to over communicate, because the way we're communicating now.
I heard an interesting like thing about that, where it's if you say you have like 2 people in your company, you have like 2 times communication. But if you have 4 people in your company, you actually have like 16 times communication, because each one of those people has to. Dude, this dog is going crazy over here. He's like knocking shit off. He
wants to join the podcast.
So it was part of like this consultant that we hired to help us scale. And he was like explaining to us kind of like, if you don't have the right people in each one of these positions over communicating, you're completely fucked. And then he also said the average person needs to be like told something 7 times.
Yeah.
And like the day before, Jonathan like almost lost his shit on somebody that he felt like he had told. I can't remember what the anecdote was or if you've seen worth telling, but he like we locked eyes in this meeting and I was like 7 times, dude, you've told that dude 3 or 4 times. You got to tell him 3 more times. And he was already so frustrated about having to over communicate.
Well, like one of the big things they push on us is like we have to have policy and procedures for every process. So if I like build out a database with, back end code and shit, all that stupid bells and whistles, I got to document all that stuff. So if someone who walks in tomorrow with enough skill like that, of like, basic programming skill, they can come in and understand what it is. But it's like, you almost have to do, like, I was thinking today, I'm like, if I go over and replace that bathroom fan, there's a set of procedures there, right? there's like little notes you should know about, like how far to dig in with like if you have to cut a hole with a drywall, like you don't want to go, you want to be like Ginger with it. You don't want to slice another wire. You make more work for yourself. It's like things like that you need to know, especially in this business. There's so many variables. There's so many variables of your business. I mean, you do new construction, so it's probably like
new construction and like the remodel business takes way more energy than the new construction business.
Oh. Yeah,
like you can't, like new construction's pretty much, I'm going to get shit for this, is pretty much plug and play. It's not really because you got people involved.
It is
but
more than remodel.
If you looked at our like scheduling system, the template for every new home is pretty much the same. There's like little nuances that come, is there, geothermal heating and air, like do we have to drill some holes in the yard before? Okay, no. All right, same as always then. There's not a whole lot of variation except for what the design and the ultimate project is.
Yeah, like remodel, you can be like ripping a wall out, and there's like the Ark of the Covenant. You're like, well, I got to take care of this.
Yeah, seriously, somebody contact the fucking Pope. We got to slow this down.
Oh, man.
We got to stop work order.
I remember when I was like real young, my parents had that house that I basically helped them finish, the one that my sister has. And it's like I went over there when I was in college. I might have been home from break, and I was just, like, bored because I get super bored super easy. And I went over, and I'm like, I'm going to start demoing the kitchen. So I start, like, hitting things and taking out cabinets and putting them in the trash. And I hit, like, the main water line in, and it was, like, leaking. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. So I call my dad. I'm like, hey, I hit a water thing, and it's not too bad, but it's leaking. I don't know how to shut it off. But, like, you don't know that there's, like, a main valve into a house. Like, you need to shut the main off, right? But I was, like, 18. I didn't know what that was. I never even spent any time. I was just dicking around.
You just smashing some cabinets.
Yeah, I'm just, like, you can't sit still.
You're doing karate.
But,
that's what I picture Dave just being like,
dude, there was a little bit of that. But then you do something stupid, like, you'll be, like, kicking drywall out, and you don't know that they, like, put another, like, I don't know, stud on the other side or across. And you kick it out, and it's just, like, there's nothing. Your foot's not going through that. Like, mentally, you're like, yeah, it's just drywall. But then when you hit, like, a 2x4, and you're like, that's not what I was expecting. Like, you don't do that anymore. Like, when I was in there, we weren't insured. We were just, like, trying to get the house done. So I had my buddies over there helping with demo. I'm like, look, like, there is a nail and there is a screw in every single one of these walls. Because what they had done in that house is they had plastered it and then drywalled over, which is, So, like, the house was pretty old. So as I was taking stuff off, it's like you had the drywall screws and then you had the nails for the plaster, or however the plaster worked, and then all the lath. So it's like you could turn and just slice your arm with, like, the lath that was, in the corners and stuff. So I'm like, you have to, like, make sure that you're on your P's and Q's. Don't work that fast. Like, my one buddy was, like, working real fast and look, take it slow. Like, you don't know what's behind that wall. Like, these are the kind of things you have to anticipate. But it was, like, being on site with them, super helpful because you could work with them, drive the process, and, like, get things done. Now, that's simple. It's demo stuff.
But it's really hard to communicate that to customers.
Oh, yeah.
We don't let all the customers have, like, the access of the software just because some of them just aren't really into that. Usually it's just not going to be any benefit to the relationship. But customers like that are into technology, or, they're tech people, or like whatever, maybe they're younger and they're used to using software like that. We'll let them have access to it. And it sometimes is really, really nice when you can have a client that can observe, like, the live schedule, because then they're not wondering, like,
it's the same thing you deal with.
It's like, why can't we do the plumbing this week? It's like, well, the countertops are getting templated today. It takes, 7 to 10 days for us to get the stone back. As long as everything comes back good with the stone, the plumbing can, go, like the sink and everything and the faucets. The countertops need to go in for the faucets to go in and the sinks to go in and all the rest of the stuff. So if, like, yeah, sure, the plumber could show up, but he's gonna do 2 bolts, and he's gonna have to find something to do.
He's gonna do the toilets and then come back for the kitchen.
Sometimes what people see is, like, us waiting around isn't waiting. It's like strategic waiting.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we know if he comes next Tuesday, what would take 5 days will only take 3 days because he'll have 4 more people with him, and then our project will be affected. Like, there's that going across multiple projects in the teens. So it's just kind of like you kind of have when people you learn, like, you do get frustrated with customers, but you learn to kind of like, or at least I am learning. Like I step back and be like, why is this person texting me at 9:15 at night about this, right? Or on a Sunday of Memorial Day weekend at 8, whatever. It's like, why? And then it's like, okay, let me take a step back. If I wanted my house done, and that was, that $1 million I was spending was like very important to me, maybe I would feel justified in texting someone to get some clarifications on some things on a Sunday.
I think you have to just, I think deep down you probably don't care that they do that.
I don't care.
Because
when they do it to me, it really doesn't bother me. Like Gilmore sees me on the phone. When we hang out, like yesterday, I was on the phone, just like blasting. You just have to get ahead of the emails. Like it is what it is. Like I try and separate that out, especially if it's like Ariel time. I try not to cross that because I'll get fucking pissed off sometimes in the middle of dinner, and I'll just be like, "What the fuck just happened?" And they'll be like, "I just read something I shouldn't have." Yeah. But it's more so like you have to understand that person and like what they're trying to do, and I don't care that they're texting me. Or John probably doesn't care that they're texting him. It's more so like when they're texting like the lower guys or our subcontractors or our project managers. Like some of them, yes, like you should be texting them, right? That's their job. But it's like sometimes it's like, hey, it's like Tuesday night at like 9:30 at night. Like these people have kids. Like these people also have lives outside of work.
Yeah.
That if we don't respect that,
it's a little
like it'll start affecting I'll talk about Ryan, for instance, because fuck him. If he, say he's constantly getting questions at nighttime from customers or on the weekends, and, he's not focused on his kids, and then his wife could be mad at him. I'm not saying, Melissa, that's what's actually happening, but you could be mad at Ryan for being distracted, theoretically. And then he's coming into work, things aren't that great at home right now because, I'm not focused on that half hour my wife needs from me at brunch on Sunday. I'm not giving that to her because I'm texting clients. That does then come back into the business. So, you have to realize that, these people's lives, they're here to work to make their goals happen in their lives. And then they come back to work to make more goals happen in their lives. If those goals aren't fruitful or, realized, and they're having problems and things like that, then ultimately, what's the fucking point?
Yeah, but it's a fine line with that, because if you have, it's almost like, how do you solve for that? Do you have a couple insulators that you say, look,
I'll contact the customers and just be like, hey, look,
well, you'd set up.
I've pulled customers aside and been like, hey, look, can you not? Would you mind, this person's working very hard for us and very hard on your project to make everything happen in a perfect sense. You can see them working this hard. Would you mind not being so invasive, during these hours? Can I ask that of you? And I've never had someone be like, most times they're like, oh, yeah, sorry. They just don't even realize how invasive they're being. Because, most people, unfortunately, they operate in their own little world.
Yeah, well, you also,
that's everybody.
There's no precedent set where, here's your operational hours. And, these include,
yeah, but there's,
at that point, you're not 24/7. You can't be 24/7 because 24/7 is going to hurt the business because in your personal lives you're going to be affected. But you could, but how many hours do people feasibly need to be in touch with you about building their home? Do they, can you set a precedent early to say, hey, we're going to do this for you. We're available all the time. We're available business hours.
It's really just the technology is so available now that people just they don't think anything of just oh, I can just text that person. Oh, I can just text that person. So instead of what should be consolidated into a quick phone call or that one meeting a week, hey, why don't you bring those questions to our weekly meeting on site at your project, and we can run through all those right then. If you're texting me 13 times a day about stuff that doesn't really fucking matter,
no, agreed.
It's gonna bog the whole project, bog everything down. And then it's you're ultimately not going to get the results. So it's my job, if I respect the subs to communicate with me, I also have to communicate with the customer, be like, hey, you're getting in the way of success.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
you have to do it delicately, but
do it delicately. We also set the precedent, in that initial meeting, you got to basically set like a precedent for how you're going to be communicating. But I mean, it wouldn't have to be superly rigid, but at least you would start with at least you would start with here's our policy for, like interaction and how we like to do things. And I'm sure if you need something a one-off, but like I can't be doing multiple emails. Like let's have, dual, bi-weekly meetings or something. I don't know. Like I'm trying to brainstorm what
He's fine.
what a solution to that would look like. Like that's how my
I would
brain
just
works.
not. It's just dealing because like there's no point in setting those rules up because every customer relationship is different. Every person's different.
But you have to understand you're like a corporation, you're an entity now. So it's like,
if you
like,
said that in front of John though, he'd burn this whole fucking building down.
I'm saying like here's our operation hours, right?
Yeah.
But then you have a couple guys. Like what I would really like to see is here's your operational hours. Then you have a couple of guys that are like trained and their job is to know like, hey, you are on call this weekend for all the calls that come in. So like your subject matter expertise of what's going on has to be as high as mine and the other guy. And you have to, that's like a thing that you got to do then. So it's like, and then next week it's like this guy is the insulator. He takes all the bullshit if bullshit comes. So those guys have like, so it's just,
I see what
ways
you're saying.
around. It's just a brainstorm. You know what I mean? It's like, here's what you could do.
Yeah,
Or to me, this makes sense as a non-expert in the field.
Each person though, like there's not like one person in charge of like all the projects.
Yeah, but you could have.
There's like Ryan's in charge of operations, and then Ryan has project managers under him.
Right.
They're dealing on the project. I deal with like sales, marketing.
But if
most of the
Miss
customers,
Johnson calls you up, I mean, you could have like I've never spent any time in the business, so I don't even know how a regular phone call would go.
if there's no regular phone calls.
Right. Well, I'm just saying like what you deal with on the daily.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
It's like you plan your day. At least for me, it's like I plan my day, and then the day happens completely different than what I planned. And the only reason I have planned is so that I can look back on it and be like, none of this happened. I need to get this done at nighttime now.
I was telling Gilmar when I came in, I'm like, there's nothing going on like that's giving me too much like, I wouldn't say it's like, I guess it's creative humor going on. So like, I'm like in this state where I'm getting more into how do I make my personality fit what I have to get done. And I would say I'm like a weird personality, like a type A personality that can be like extremely, I won't say lazy, but like I can turn off for like days and just get nothing done. And then I can go into these streaks where I'm like hyper productive. Like I want everything. Like I need to know, like, don't waste your moments. I get very short with people that like waste words, that they'll come to me and they'll be like, all right, well, they'll spend a minute asking me a question. I'll be like, all right, so you need this? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, okay. I'm like, that didn't have to take a minute and a half. You know what I mean? And they're like, what am I?
Do you keep lists?
Yeah, and I keep lists, but I have a whiteboard that's like just, if you don't have a whiteboard, get a whiteboard. Get a big whiteboard. Because all the thoughts that you don't want to keep in your head, you can neatly put like, here's my, I keep all my finances, like my number, like how much money I have in my accounts, like weekly, so I can say if I'm saving money. Like I know I am, but I want to make sure. And it's like, here's stuff I have to do for work. Here's like some like interview stuff for people that have contacted me. Like, but I also have, like you said, keeping a list is good. Keeping stuff handy is good. Keeping it at the ready. Like doing, I need to employ more of that, but I don't have a printer. And I'm debating, I'm like, should I get a printer?
No, dude, a notebook.
I love notebooks.
I just need like an 8x11 notebook.
But we do a lot of policy and procedures, and they're all on Microsoft Word in like a folder. So I'm like, what if I print all those out? Like if I have to do like manual stuff that I'm programming for, like first I print the thing out and I see what they're doing through their policy and procedures, and I basically like code based on what they're doing. So like any step they have, I figure out like a code around that step so it can be automated so that a computer can do what they were doing. If I get that. Sometimes I don't get that. Sometimes I have to like dig that up. But I don't know. Like, I don't even know where I was getting at that.
You're molding your personality to
yeah,
get more
I've
shit
just
done.
been like more in tune for work lately.
You're listening.
Like, you really are a good listener. I like listening back to the podcast, and he'll go on about something, and then and when I'm here, I'm like, what? I'm like, my brain's moving too fast, but not fast in like a like a good way. It's just like it's not paying attention. I have severe ADD.
He's just so excited to be here. There's a gun on there's a neon gun on the table.
Yeah.
And I listen back to the podcast and I'll be like, and when I listen to what you're saying as a listener now, not as like a participant, I'm like, that made a lot of sense. But when I was sitting here, I was like, what? Like I couldn't do it, man. I was listening to Rogan. He had the guy from Counting Crows on.
I've been following me. I have not been listening to Joe Rogan.
I don't
Like
listen to it all
I
the
was
time.
so into Joe Rogan up until like last fall, and then I think what happened was he moved to Spotify,
Yeah.
and then I just stopped getting his stuff in my feed, so I stopped listening.
It's a long listen too, though. It's 3 hours on these conversations. So like, I'll skim the podcast like every week or so. I'll see who he's had on, and he just had like Sebastian Unger on.
Oh, I skim for sure. Like I'll be like, I don't give a shit what that.
Like if
person has to
Elon
say.
Musk is on, I'll listen for 3 hours. Like that.
Yeah.
But what was I saying about that? About Joe Rogan?
Something about Counting Crows.
The Counting Crows guy was on. He said something interesting, and I only listened to that because I was like, that guy looks. All right, first of all, we need to talk about Counting Crows. What time is it, Gilmore?
5:57.
Okay. The Counting Crows guy does not have dreadlocks. You ever see that guy perform? He wears dreadlocks. It's a wig. He's
It's
like
fake.
this little Jewish guy.
He would.
Adam Derwitz is. I don't know if he's Jewish, but he looks kind of Jewish. Not like that's a bad thing, but he looks like from that part of the world, like Israel.
he
The
looks
Counting
like
Crows
he's part
fun,
of the
man.
Jewish
So
part of the
apparently,
world.
maybe he once upon a time had.
Wasn't
But they look like some fake ass. What the hell is it called? Dreadlocks. And apparently he wears wigs on stage.
Yeah, dude, that's him in the lower right hand corner. There's a
Yeah.
picture of
But
him.
maybe-
He looks like Tom Peters from the barbecue place. If you scroll down a little
I'm
bit.
surprised you get more shit for like doing that because now people get you're like culturally.
No, look at the
appropriating.
over in the left. See that picture of him like with his face like that? Doesn't he look like Tom Peters kind of?
It kind of does.
Now
Yeah.
that I
in
look
that
at it more,
picture?
he looks more like a Middle Eastern guy. Maybe he's from like
Tom
Libya.
doesn't look like a Middle Eastern guy. Interesting.
Anyways, he was saying
How do we feel about wigs? Guys wearing wigs.
I don't fucking care.
Think about it, man. If your whole front
Right.
of your
Right, if it makes
I
you
mean,
feel
you got-
happy,
You
shit.
got some thick ass hair though too.
Yeah,
I
you
got
do.
some beautiful
I think
hair.
all of us do. We got
You got
lucky.
some beautiful hair,
Yeah,
dude.
you got
We
some
got.
good hair.
In
I
our
got
30s
lucky,
with
dude.
our hair.
Dude, my little brother doesn't have. He's been shaving his head for so long, but he doesn't grow his hair out ever. I wonder. I was talking to him a couple
But
weeks
he's
ago.
not balding, right?
His hair's just like I think.
He's balding by choice.
Yeah, Timmy's not balding. I think it's just like
He's always
he
kept
just
a tight
he
cut.
used
He's
to
in
do it
he's
after
in
high
the,
school. He's just like fuck it.
yeah, but he's also in the.
Yeah, but sometimes it benefits them to have like beards and hair and shit. He's not.
Or,
In
like,
the, he's
blend
not in the like. He's not. Yeah, he's not into grooming standards.
Anyways, he was saying how like people with ADD have they take like speed or Adderall, they get like real calm.
Yeah.
And when I have a prescription, so I take it, and I get like really, like I start thinking clearly. I like my mind slows down.
Time release.
Yeah, time release.
That shit'll fuck you up.
Dude, I take it very sparingly. Maybe once or twice a week if I do. I took it today. I hadn't taken it in probably a week and a half because it's just strong. Like some days you get off it and you're like, whew, like you're productive. So like tomorrow I can be just as productive remembering this mindset. But if I had to take this drug to feel like this tomorrow, with my body 2 days on it would just be like, we need a break.
Dude, my brother's took the time release stuff in when he went to college, and I remember I forgot like the finer details of the thing, but I would like stop by my mom's house, and he'd be like in the middle of the night, he'd be like up reading for like school, and I'd like come by at the daytime, he'd be like reading same spot, and I'd be like, what the fuck is Timmy on right now?
Yeah.
He's really about school, and then he fucked his sleep up. He like the time release Adderall, like he figured out that like I think I'm remembering this correctly. Like he just like after he was just like I'm not doing school anymore. Fuck that shit. Like it's not worth me like having to like because he was like I guess he just like was having to do it that way to get the schoolwork done. That he was just like I could be successful in other places. I don't need to do this. And then it was true. Like I think he originally like thought he wanted to be a doctor, and then did a couple semesters at Bucks and was like,
Yeah, it's
nah.
tough.
I'm gonna be a major league gunfighter.
LGF, baby.
Yeah,
It was
dude.
probably like 2 or 3 years ago that not that I started taking my sleep seriously, but like, you make sure you get it.
I didn't used to take my sleep seriously until I met Ariel, and still didn't take sleep seriously. And one day, I guess, I don't know what she said to me, but it finally just like clicked. It was like all the things your body does while you're sleeping affects like all this other stuff. And she said something in a very much like, well, like you're trying to do all this, like, you know, like you're trying to perform at a high level, but like you're just not going to be capable of because you're like void of all of these things you need. So like, I don't know what you think you're doing, but like this ain't it.
Yeah, you're out.
And I literally just like,
suboptimal.
That hurt.
Right, but
it was true.
As soon as I started taking that seriously, I would say like my life became easier too, because like you're in bed by 10:30, like you're not going out.
Yeah.
You're like, I know what I'm going to be doing.
It's more so like the bedtime ritual, though. Like you shouldn't have the TV on certain, because the blue light triggers your body's like, we're not going to go into that, but it basically simulates the sun.
Yeah.
It makes your body stop creating melatonin, which helps you go to fucking sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then your body, gets in the habit of not creating enough melatonin, and then you got insomnia type problems, and then your body's not all the proteins that are released that like heal your brain only happen during like
certain cycles
of sleep.
Certain cycles too.
So like Alzheimer's and like these, brain issues that are like later in life, because like the human being we know today is living longer than it was not even that long ago.
Right.
So like we're having these like brain things like Alzheimer and stuff like that, but it's really just a deterioration of like the brain's performance related to sleep and oral bacteria. Isn't that fucking crazy? So brush your teeth and go to fucking bed.
Yeah.
And you will be better off from that shit.
I mean, dude.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, ever since
people have no idea why you brush your teeth. It isn't I
didn't know.
It really doesn't have anything to do with keeping your teeth clean.
Oh, I thought that's why my teeth are so white.
No, it's like you're trying to get all that bacteria out of your mouth, because like the bacteria in your mouth, like if you get an oral infection, that's like straight to your brain.
Yeah.
And then you fuck.
That's why toothaches suck. Like,
Yeah,
toothaches are like, fuck, like I can't do anything.
Dude, this dog is so good.
Yeah, Rambo.
I was always like, I love female golden retrievers because they're like just kind of docile, but
well, he's got a dick.
Easy going.
He's got a dick.
He's got a fat one.
He's got a fat dick.
So I'm not like, I kind of had like a predisposed. I was like, oh, he's a male. I was like, I won't, like him, but he's really good.
So you're a fucking feminist?
A little bit. We always
he's a canine feminist.
God
we always
damn
had
dude, this crazy bitch that lives near me. Dude, I just thought about this interaction I had with her on Sunday that just like grinded my gears. But anyway, when I got Rambo, she was like, "Yeah, we used to have golden retrievers." I'm like, "Oh, you fucking bitch!"
People always want to.
You did? You used to have golden retrievers? She goes, "Yeah. The female's urine burns the grass," and I'm just like, "The fuck are you talking about?" And Rambo's fucking peeing. Little baby Rambo's peeing on the ivy. Like, does something burn this grass right here?
Was she,
dude,
like,
she fucking
giving you a heads up? She's like roundabout telling you not to be mindful where he pees.
No, yeah, maybe I don't. Right over my head. This woman chased me down on Sunday. I'm like on my way out, or maybe it was Saturday, on my way to jiu-jitsu in the morning, and I'm like, that shit starts at 8. I live 15 minutes away. It's 11 minutes, and I'm walking to my car. I'm late. This woman's coming running out of her house to tell me, Andrew, it's fucking raining out. Andrew. I'm like, oh, shit. I was previously on our homeowners association board. I've since resigned because of people like her, calling me and shit. Be like, this is Deborah. I really am upset about the roots on the sidewalk over by address. And I'm just like, oh, stop fucking calling me. I resign. So this woman comes out to tell me about some gutter issue she's having, and this, that, or the other thing. And I go, look, like, hey, I'm like looking at my watch. I'm like, hey, like I have a lot to do today. Like I have somewhere to be right. I know it's Saturday, but like I have somewhere I have to be right now. Like, and then she just fucking lost it on me. Like just completely fucking lost it on me.
Well, I mean,
so I'm standing there
Your
like,
delivery can be sometimes.
I was just like, no, but I was just like, and she's like, you know what? I tried to be nice, but you don't even care. And I was like, literally, and she just storms up, and
maybe that's okay.
That's okay, right? So, but it happened so suddenly. Like, it happens, like, I literally upset her, and I didn't even realize I upset her in such an aggressive manner that she just turned, and she was yelling at me as she was walking away, and I literally was just like, I don't have any. I yelled over. I was like, I have no idea what happened.
You know,
but
funny.
I hope you have a good day, and you don't even care. And I was just like, holy shit.
When you live among people,
I gotta get out of this neighborhood.
When you live among people, you realize how crazy people are. Like, my buddy lives up in Richboro, and he's got 5 immediate neighbors, but, like, they're all nuts. Like, the one across the street, like, punched the other dude in the face, and now he's going to jail for 2 years because he broke his orbital bone in Richboro. Like, big houses, nice houses. But it's like, people are fucking crazy no matter where you put them.
Wait, in a nice neighborhood in Richboro.
Not even a neighborhood, on Worthington Mill Road, like, they're just like properties. Yeah. And the fucking people are like fighting with each other.
See, and that's why I tried to explain to people, like, you need the jujitsu. Like, you don't necessarily get to decide when your neighbor's going to punch you in the face.
Broke his orbital.
Right? You think you're like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're good. We barbecued last summer together. What? Bam! In the face, right in the kisser.
You know what's interesting?
You got
no warning.
You got no fight training. You just got punched in the face on a Saturday.
Back in the day, people used to like live. I feel like people lived closer to their friends than they do today.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah,
well, no,
sure.
I think what it was, I don't think it. Yeah, maybe that was that, but I think back in the day, you relied on other people more.
Like, the idea of a block party came from the fact that, like, at one point, some people on the same block were so cool with each other, they threw a block party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Like,
do they still
people,
do that? They'll like park
I don't see that happening
in
that
Philly,
much anymore.
dude. Back where Molly fucking lives,
in.
dude. She like back when I was living with her, like down in South Philly. She like she left for work. I left for work. I'm like walk into my truck, and there's like I can't even get my fucking truck out from where it's parked because like they literally have like neighborhood people's cars like
you would walk
blocking
into
the
like,
street,
like
and
a
it's
party, but like you're at disadvantage. You're like, I gotta get my truck, and they're like,
oh, I didn't get it out. I didn't get it out. It was just like and it was just like these like like corn cobs and Hispanics just like did.
Yeah,
and I was
no
literally
option.
just like, I'm not fucking going.
I'm staying here.
Yeah, I called my
You're like,
brother. I was like,
yeah.
dude, I said work Saturday, but it's just
apparently we're
canceled.
partying today.
Dude, corn cobs everywhere.
Yeah, I think at that point you have no option other than
I'd
to
never
like join
experienced that, dude. Like me and Molly lived in the city for like. We hadn't lived in the city that long, and it was like the spring had come around, and I'm like, oh, this is like a new environment. I never really like experienced this whole scene, and I felt like every weekend when I would go out, I'd kind of have to like peek around the corners of the streets because I'm like, dude, what?
Yeah.
Like, is it gonna be like a block party?
Yeah, what's
like,
happening today?
Is
It's
it
fun
gay
down
party? Like
there.
one day, I was riding my bicycle to go to the gym, and I was like, we lived in South Philly, by like the Italian market, and I was going to the Union League over by like Sampson by City Hall. And I like came up on the fucking like gay naked bike ride or some shit. And I'm just like, I stopped here on my bike and I was just like, what's this? Why are people like, what's this big obstruction at this intersection? Like, I'm just, the fuck is everybody looking at? And just like dicks, just riding bikes down the street. Just
Hell yeah.
And fucking dicks flapping around. And I'm just like,
Oh,
I don't know
naked
that
people on bikes.
Oh yeah,
Wow.
just like and it was
Just like
like
a
minute.
random
It
day.
was minutes long. Like I had taken pre-workout, and I remember like pulling up on this. And like if you've ever taken pre-workout, like you realize you're like, if you take the pre-workout on the way to the gym, and you hit like some traffic, sometimes it's a struggle.
That's why I don't take that stuff anymore.
It's sometimes a struggle.
That stuff is crazy.
There's
Like,
been
we're not even sure it's legal, but
Yo,
put it in some water.
there's been a couple of times where I'm just like, what
Don't kill anyone.
dude, that happened to me on Sunday for the parades. I like pull out in the fucking Yardley, and Yardley Borough is like shut down. There's fire trucks everywhere. I was like, oh goddamn parade. I looked at my fucking clock. I'm like, oh my god, I got 30-minute pre-workout. 10 minutes have gone by. I got 20 minutes until somebody's face is getting ripped off. I'm like going back the opposite way, like beeline back, like 10 minutes out of my way to get there.
Yeah.
Got there. Everybody was okay. My palms are sweating when I'm like opening the gym door. Like,
You couldn't even open it. It's just sliding off the door.
it's just like, it's so hot. I want to take my shirt off walking in.
I got ascend something really quickly? So
You we want to take a pause?
Yeah.
Let's pause.
'Cause this is due at 6, and I know it's probably like 6:15.
It's 6:11.
This episode is brought to you by After5.media. I don't know what our slogan is. We're here to make you look good, better than you look in real life. But anyway,
Providing a safe space for podcasters and listeners alike.
so the other day we came across some shit, dude. We came across some shit, and this is the life I live. I just look for altercations. I look for social interactions.
And you find them.
And sometimes they find me, and I'm not ready for it, and then I just got to be ready to remember. It's just, my whole life is just, I don't know how to do it. But what happened the other day was merely an accident. We were just kind of looking through reviews. We were looking at reviews of the barbecue restaurant that we frequent. We were looking at reviews of Peddler's Village. I was clicking on Google Maps. And then we found a farm that, had two reviews. It had five stars on Google. And it was kind of close to us. And I was like, holy shit, like, I've never heard of this farm before. And we clicked on it.
2 reviews.
Yeah, it has 2 5-star reviews. It's the Dinardo Family Farm. And
I've heard of about that place.
Yeah, so the first review from Justin comments on how Dinardo Family Farm has excellent backhoe services.
Yeah.
And this is when I fucking realized what we were looking at. If you don't recall what the Dinardo Family Farm is, last year or 2 years ago, I think, that one dude, Cosmo Dinardo, and his cousin, who he tricked into helping him, ended up killing 3 kids up at this farm in New Hope.
Yeah, I want to see location of it.
So I
drive through here and I'm like, where is it?
The best part of this whole thing is somebody made a Google listing for the farm, and then somebody made a 5-star review saying that they had excellent excavating services or backhoe services.
So it's right off 202.
Yeah.
Is that really where they lived?
They still own it, yeah.
Oh, shit.
And the guy used the excavator to bury the bodies. So
Dude,
that's when I was looking at this. I was kind of like,
David M.
what the fuck?
Upper
Justin, you son of a bitch, dude. Click on Justin's profile. Let's see if we can find out who Justin is.
Does he have can we see what else he comments on? Maybe he's just like a master troll.
Yeah, dude, he's added 4 places. One of those places isn't. Let's see what else he's reviewed.
Can
Let's
you
go.
check the places at it? No, you
The
can't.
internet.
Yeah,
is
94 answers.
crazy.
Holy shit, this guy's a fucking Google hero.
Yeah.
Let's get you break iFix. Let's read this. Go back up to this. Brought a Galaxy S10 in for speaker repair. Phone was under warranty by Samsung. And you break iFix is an official Samsung service app. I had a new speaker installed in under 2 hours. The rep I had, Elliot, was very respectful and knowledgeable. Since it was a Samsung warranty, it was replaced with official Samsung parts. This guy knows his shit.
I like this
Hell
guy.
yeah.
This guy knows his shit.
We should have this guy on.
Yeah,
we
you
should
should
have
come
this
on.
guy on.
That was a terrible idea.
Nah, Justin, come on.
The question I have is, did he use Cosmo Dinardo for was he just making a joke that they have good excavating services?
Doesn't matter. Here's what I like about this review.
Maybe he actually used Cosmo Dinardo to dig a hole.
This guy, he's got Samsung parts. They included the 90-day warranty. They added another plus, no out-of-pocket of having your phone reformatted. I don't even know what that is, but he gave us some solid information. Like, if I'm going to You Break, I Fix, I'm like, hey, Justin said that all this shit would happen for my $80 that I pay you or whatever. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But
let's scroll down some more. Let's
see
see what else. Let's see what other kind of hero shit. Oh, whoa, we got
Oh.
Phillipsburg
some of these are just very
Mall.
Poetic.
It's the 1-star Phillipsburg Mall.
But I get
America's saddest mall.
I
2
get
thumbs
it.
up.
I never
2
want to
thumbs
go
up.
there.
Because people support that.
People like Justin.
That was
I
an
guess.
effective thing.
No,
We're not
he
gonna read
said
that. I can't
owner
even pronounce
McConaughey leaves nothing to be desired for what they have done in the local community. This guy is awesome.
Yeah, let's go back up.
Jesus.
What is that for?
is a piece of shit.
The Red Barn Milk Company, the owner McConaughey leaves nothing to be desired for what they have done to the local community.
Jeez, what have the
That
local
is a
community?
scathing
Let's
review.
Google Red Barn Milk Company current events. Let's see what these fuckers did to did they pollute the water?
I don't know.
Did they pollute?
You want me to? Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Are they just
Dude, they have 4.1
looks like an ice cream
stars.
store with
an-
a dairy component, right?
What have they done to the community?
Why did I exit the fucking map?
Yeah,
Look at this shit.
just scroll down. Just scroll down.
hit
Just scroll down.
What are you?
I don't know. Click on something else. I don't know. I was panicking.
Yeah, it was.
I was
Bro.
watching this interesting Netflix documentary about
New tab. Got to get out of here. Get me out of here.
Get out of here.
You should Google how to why that X pops up. I Google everything, dude. I Google my job.
What is life?
Most of my job is Googling. I'm like, how do you do this in this language? And somebody else has already figured it out. So I steal that code, change little things.
What the hell was that thing called?
The Red Barn Milk Company.
Red Barn Milk Company.
Dude,
Why did I don't understand? You'd think Google solved for everything. That X is really annoying.
I just fucking what happened to the Red Barn? What did they do to the community?
Nice.
Maybe they don't do anything for the community. Maybe that's why he's upset. But that would mean that he lives relatively near there, right?
Look at this. Red Barn Milk Company takes a
it
combined
looks like
and
they brought bottling back to New Jersey.
Nothing but locally produced milk.
They look like nice guys.
Yeah.
Now I think Justin's a bit of an asshole.
Yeah, Justin kind of is a bit of
I
an
think there's
asshole.
nothing wrong with the Red Barn Brewer.
Fuck you, Justin.
Phillipsburg, Google search Phillipsburg Mall so we can just see what it looks like because he was
Yeah,
the
maybe
world's saddest mall.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
true.
he's just indifferent.
Plus sign. What are you speaking? What language are you speaking?
Yeah, he's speaking
he's
Elon
a-
Musk's son.
He's a wing
Yeah,
ding
dude.
expert.
Bloop 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 bloop. Phillipsburg Mall, dude's got 3 stars.
That's a Chick-fil-A. It is.
What the fuck?
Oh, yeah, that's a sad
wow,
mall.
dude.
Shit.
What has happened?
Look at those
dude?
stores.
It doesn't look like it's
Jesus.
open anymore.
I feel like malls
Would you
look
buy
like
this and move in? Well, I would
here's
live in
what
it.
malls are. Do you remember back in the late early 2000s they had zombie movies and everybody ends up at the mall?
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
we're gonna hold forward at the mall.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like a strong motif
There's
in
a lot of stuff there. Yeah.
But remember what the malls looked like in those movies? They were barren, and now that's what fucking malls look like now.
That's because they probably filmed those movies in barren malls.
Yeah, but back then malls still were. I wonder when the malls started to die. 'Cause
Probably.
malls were big when we were young.
Yeah,
Malls
probably.
were huge when we were
I
young.
would probably
Everything's
say
online.
2008 recession cleaned up.
Really, Gilmar, really? Everything's online.
Yeah, bro. Why do you think
This guy
Sears
is
closed
blue,
down?
guys.
Yo, dude, he's up here adding fucking and subtracting words and shit, dude.
Plus, I get it.
Plus, minus, plus. What are you, fucking Morse code?
I think
coding,
he's on
bro.
a different. You're on a different keyboard, right? If I go to the Apple keyboard, I'll do shit like that because you're reaching for the P, which is up top left.
No, I think it's because he's looking. He's his computer's in front of him and he's looking
Where's
at
the P on it?
No,
he's looking at 10 o'clock
All right,
high.
this is why because it's using this OBS recording software, and in order for me to picture in the browser, I have hotkeys selected. So minus is to subtract the browser underneath the screen, and plus is to add it back in.
Okay.
So that's why that keeps happening.
hotkeys? That
Yeah.
sounds hot.
Hotkeying it in, boy.
That sounds
fucking-
pretty hot. What
Are you
happened to
gonna-
the Phillipsburg Mall? There's a whole article on it. Maybe at one point it was
I don't think there's anything of value here.
what happened to the Phillipsburg Mall. Well,
Low investments, dude. Oh, dude, they're trying to get us to
Oh.
pay.
get out of here! Get out, Gilmar!
Enable ads. Oh
Enable-
my god.
oh,
dude,
no,
you
an
just
ad
clicked
blocker.
Dude,
I think
fuck.
it's Alt F4.
shit.
Fuck, dude.
All
All
right.
right,
We'll
Wait,
get
just
out of-
once, just once.
we're gonna get out of this.
Alt F4
Okay,
will
alright.
close
Together.
any program you're in.
Let's
but
go. Let's see what Jake Paul or Logan Paul versus Mayweather's at right now. Let's see what these DraftKings.
Are they? They're not going to actually fight,
They're
right?
fighting on Sunday.
The weight difference in those guys is ridiculous,
The
right?
talent difference in those guys is different.
Doesn't matter though. At a certain point, does it matter?
Probably just. It does actually.
I mean, he did fight Canelo, but Canelo always looked bigger.
Mayweather fought Canelo how long ago?
6, 7 years ago.
Yeah, not a thing. Mayweather was definitely like, I'm gonna fight Canelo now because I don't want to fight him in 5 years.
But you have but doesn't Canelo weigh more now? Doesn't he fight?
Canelo is a thicker boy. Yeah,
But he fights
but
at a
one
higher weight class, right?
up. Yeah.
Oh, just one weight class?
Uh-huh.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure he's still 155 though.
But Mayweather's a 145, isn't? Or I guess that
He
would be
fought
one
up too though.
He
The
has
144
Interesting.
was the weight class he was at.
I think fighting is so cool. I have no, I like to think I know how to fight, but throwing that first. I was watching the Gronkowskis try to fight Logan Paul,
Yeah.
and Logan Paul's very.
He's
knows
a
how to
good.
do it.
He's a good. People don't realize that Logan Paul was a college wrestler. So like that level of athleticism is
true, but he's also been working at boxing too. Like you have to still work at, like you could be.
Well, yeah.
It helps to be to have that background, but
if you
he's
can
been doing this for like
compete
2.5
at,
years now.
If
right?
you can compete as a college wrestler, you have what it takes to like train through majority of things.
Yeah.
To
You still
get to
got to
that
learn
point.
boxing.
You
right?
still have to learn, but you could probably
like
learn
he was
more
going up
aggressively.
against like Robert Gronkowski's brothers, who are basically just as big as Robert Gronkowski, but they don't know how to box. And it was like they know how to throw punches, I guess, if they land something on someone who doesn't know what they're doing. But he was dipping and dodging, then returning. Like his he was like a drunk. He had like kind of like a drunken stance when he was fighting them, which was interesting because he was far back, but like when he was counter. Like their whatever they did, he was so quick to like close the distance from his arm back here to like a dude up here. And I don't know, man. I could watch. I don't know what I'm looking at when I watch fighting. I'm just like, yeah,
Punch him.
I'm like, that guy's obviously winning.
Smash faces.
You smash. Yeah, these are the betting odds for the fight.
Oh, minus 2,000. Paul's money line plus 900. Well, you know Paul's gonna go.
Yeah.
They're gonna fight on Sunday. Really? Like this is for sure. They're not gonna.
No, it's happening.
This is a big fight. I didn't care much.
People are getting paid. They're getting paid a lot for this.
Yeah. Like Ben Askren, was that his name?
Ben
Oh, yeah,
Askren,
he
brother.
got
That
fucking
was so
paid.
stupid.
He got
He
paid.
paid. He got.
I didn't even pay attention to it.
I think he
I
made
just
like 1.6 or 1.7 million off the whole thing. I could be wrong.
I would get
He
my ass
definitely
kicked for that much
made
money.
over $1 million.
Yo, Gilmar, if we had to like fight you beating the shit out of me, like, and we could just put it online for 1.7, I'd be like, let's get started right now. I'm ready to retire.
Dave and John fought after one of our podcasts.
We should
time.
Really?
film.
Yeah, John and Dave, like this one time, Dave like went into John like full speed, and it was just like
Hit a wall.
Yeah.
I give him
The
props.
best way to attack John is let him come at you. As soon as he gets tired, then you can maneuver him. But the first 15 blows to get tired, like I was running into him, like we were doing like football stuff and stupid shit, and it was a little bit wet out, and he was like 285 back then, so you hit 285 pounds.
He was more
yeah.
than that.
Yeah. What does he weigh now? Is he?
I think he
still
weighs
losing weight?
280 something now.
Does he?
He was up over
Jeez.
3.
Oh, well then I was
That's a
I don't
big
know.
way
man.
out of weight.
John,
my
John
weight
don't
class.
get mad at me, but I think he was like 310.
I had no way. I
He's
could
a
see
big
that
dude. He's
because
6
he's
foot
a big
plus,
guy.
and he's fucking big guy.
He's
big
like
man.
6. What is he, like 6'1"?
I think
No.
he's
6'6".
6'2".
He has to be like 6'2",
Is he 6'2"?
6'3".
I
He
think
has
he's
to
6'2"
be.
or 6'3".
John, if you're listening, I will fight you right now. I will come to your house and I will beat you in front of your children.
Oh my god!
And that's a promise. So you bring it next week on WWWW.
What the fuck was that?
I don't know, man.
It's the wrestling debut.
It's 4 W's, bro. Worldwide. Oh man, shit. I gotta relax, man.
Dude, we're gonna close it out with that.
Yeah.
Worldwide,
we should.
worldwide.
Worldwide, baby.
So if you enjoyed this episode without John, he'll be back on Thursday, or we'll be back
I'll
recording
be here to
Thursday.
beat his ass.
Yeah. This is Dave Hermes.
That's right.
Andrew Mann, Gilmar, Rambo, the No Prisoners podcast, produced by After5 Go to our YouTube channel, subscribe to the YouTube, subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, whatever else you're listening to podcasts on. I could argue if you're not listening to Apple Podcasts or Spotify or watching on YouTube, I have no idea what planet you're even living on. So find us there. We love you.